So let's talk about CAD, CAD files. This has been something that I think the day or the day after we introduced BIM files or the BIM assets, people have asking, what about CAD? Can we get just CAD? And since then, this has been wanting, we've been looking at this and trying to, do whatever we can to make it happen. So here we are. Just wanted to bring Steve into the conversation to tell us more about this, and then we'll dive more into it a little later.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you, Amir. Yeah, as you said, a lot of our customers have been asking for CAD pretty much since we released BIM, right? Because as a digital twin company, we work in 3D spaces all the time. So, the natural progression when we launched creating design files was to go to Revit, right? Where we're creating 3D spaces. Revit works in 3D, so we released our Scan to BIM product. But most of our customers do the opposite. They start in CAD and then maybe eventually move to Revit. Some, haven't made that transition or don't plan to because AutoCAD is working great for them. And, the 2D designs are what their teams are used to working with and what they're, working with every day. So we listened and we are now launching the Scan to CAD. So anybody that's used our Scan to BIM product or, looked into it, it's going to be a very similar process, right? What we're doing is taking those dimensionally accurate Matterport scans and converting them to these schematic drawings so that you can save your team some manual effort to go and create those drawings yourself from scratch. Maybe we're working on an existing building that's just was built before AutoCAD or Revit existed, right? And we need to get up-to-date drawings. We need to start somewhere because we have nothing. Or, maybe there's been a lot of changes since the original drawings were done and we want to get, better up-to-date as-built documentation that we can start working with for our design, or even facilities management use cases that we want to use these for. And again, the nice thing with CAD, because not as much information is going into these as they would for a Revit file. You can get these very quickly. As few as 3 business days, we can turn around and get you those drawings so your teams can start doing their additional work very quickly. If we want to jump over to the next one, we can talk about like what's included, right? And just the different options you have when you're ordering these CAD files, right? So again, if you're familiar with BIM, you know that we offer a few different scopes of work that you can order when you're ordering these files. So the process is as soon as that Matterport space is created with one of our Pro cameras or a BLK 360, right? We just need a scan that has that underlying point cloud data so that we can deliver an accurate model using that data. So we can create these scans and you can order them as soon as that space is in your account. The options you're going to have is basic architecture. So you can think of, the walls, information like ceiling height will be included in these, as well as, doors, like windows, structural elements, right? And if you go to our support page, we outline all of this for you. So there's no surprises. I definitely recommend reviewing those documents before you place your first order to really understand everything that's included in these different scopes, right? I also have the furniture scope. So if you have, kind of movable items, chairs, desks, tables, things of that nature within there, we will model those out as well when you add the furniture scope. And then you can also add electrical. So for anybody familiar with our BIM offering, this is slightly different. We do mechanical, electrical, and plumbing in the Revit scope. With CAD, it's a lot more difficult to do the plumbing and the HVAC stuff because those move around kind of in 3D spaces, right? To really give you good information in the 2D space just doesn't translate as well. So we limit this to the electrical scope. So you're going to get things like annotations of where outlets and the lighting and things of that nature are. So those visible elements of the electrical system will be documented within that drawing. And then as far as what you're going to get deliverables for the files, you'll obviously get the CAD file. So we're going to give you a DWG compatible to CAD 2020. You can upgrade that to newer versions if that's what you're working with. And that's kind of your base file. We also give you a DXF file, just another file format for those dimensionally accurate drawings that is converted from that DWG, that primary AutoCAD file, and then a PDF. This is nice because if a lot of people want to maybe print these drawings out or deliver them to someone else that doesn't work in AutoCAD, but they want to be able to see all that information, you're going to get those. And with CAD, we provided some basic flat drawings with our BIM offering, but they're just created from that Revit file. So these these PDFs and DWGs are going to have additional annotations that we'll show you that are helpful when we're printing these out or using these to share with people that aren't using AutoCAD or Revit and they want to be able to get those basic dimensions and annotations. So we'll kind of go through what that looks like in a little demo after this. You're also going to get the point cloud. So this is just the RCS point cloud from Recap. So this is what we use to model off of. So you just have that for reference. You can use that for as-built documentation in some of those programs and just import that directly in. And then a CTB file. This is for AutoCAD to just add the specific plot styles that we use when we're drawing out to have the line weights and different information. So this just makes the DWG file accurate to how our team's modeling that out. So now we can kind of jump into what this all looks like when you order the CAD and it gets delivered. You'll easily be able to download these files as soon as they're available. You'll get that estimate of processing time, and then you can download these and put them in. So here you're seeing this loaded into AutoCAD. Again, nice thing, if we order that electrical, you're going to have an index label guide. So again, this is differentiated from our Revit product because before you could see those in the 3D space. With this being flat, we have those annotations so you can see where that electrical stuff is. You'll also get the scales here. So if we do want to print this on A2 paper size, we know the scale, data was issued, what elements were ordered, and the basic square footage. Even has a link to the Matterport space, which is nice. So you can go and actually see the Matterport space this is created from. So now we'll see those dimensional annotations. This is great. Again, sharing with somebody that doesn't have access to AutoCAD, they can get that basic information. Even in the different areas, we'll have the square footage labeled, right? So you can see that as well as ceiling height. And you can see when their ceiling height changes. So we're going to remove our floor layer here so we can clearly see these ceiling heights, right? You'll zoom in. It's a little hard to see because it's yellow here, but we have a dotted annotation showing where that ceiling height changes. So you will be able to still have information on ceiling height, even though it's a 2D drawing. We do include that and, use those dotted lines to separate where the ceiling height changes. We'll also do that with slope floors too. We'll indicate, where the slope is and kind of show how that changes. So you will have some annotation there for, more than just the overhead view. Here you can see if we order the electrical scope, those are some of the annotations indicating where, electrical panels, electrical outlets, and things of that nature is. Here we go to the reflected ceiling plan. So this is only included in the electrical. You'll get the reflected ceiling plan. And again, you'll have those annotations to show where the different lighting and, different electrical elements are visible on the ceiling. So to order this, again, as soon as that space is available, you'll find the CAD file option in your add-ons. This is live. We did an early release for our business and enterprise level customers. So you will actually be able to see this now and you can go ahead and order. You'll get a full estimate of price for that space as well as delivery times. And that's based off the square footage we detect for that space. For our professional level customers, you should see this on February 15th. You'll be able to start ordering these. You'll see here the ordering process. I just pick which scopes I want. You're always going to get architecture. Then I can add furniture or electrical. I'll get the price estimate as well as the delivery estimate on how long it's going to take. And then I can go ahead and order. And then I'll be able to download that from my Matterport account once it's available. And if you're not seeing that CAD file option, showed real quick there, you can go to settings. Your administrator on the account can go to the settings and under your add-ons, make sure that the CAD file option is enabled. That'll give your users on your account the ability to order those files.
The admin, I imagine by default, it's not enabled like most things that come out. I think this is true for BIM assets as well. So the admin does have to go in there, make sure that it is enabled, and then anyone is able to place that.
Yeah, because these are paid add-ons, we want the admin to kind of give permission to the account to be able to go in and order those paid add-ons. So yeah, admin will just need to go enable that. So if you're not the admin, please just request from your admin. And again, business and enterprise should have that ability to enable that now. Professional, you'll have that starting February 15th. So just pulling up here, just kind of wanted to give some insight maybe for those who haven't gone through this process, or maybe, you work with the team that does all your AutoCAD drawings, but you don't do that yourself, right? This is kind of just a workflow of our process at Matterport versus what you would do if you were just starting from scratch without Matterport. And so, we walk through ours of it's easy as capturing your space, go into your account and order it, wait a few days, and then you get that CAD drawing, you can download it and start working with it, right? Alternative workflow is either scan the space using some technology similar to Matterport or even Matterport and generate that point cloud file, right? Um, or if you don't have a scanner, you don't have access to it, or you want to do the traditional method, you'd literally, go in, manually survey, start using your laser measure, tape measure, and, documenting the space, making some rough drawings, and then go and, manually create that CAD drawing from scratch, right? This is kind of how they did things before scanning technology was available. And some customers we talk to are still doing this, right? So we can really speed up your workflow if that's currently how you're creating drawings when you have nothing. And then you either got to pay an outsource vendor to do that work, or have a somebody in-house do that, right? And when you think if you're starting from scratch, or starting from point cloud and going, either way, that's labor. If I'm paying somebody to do that, or if I'm doing it in-house, doing labor. So the faster we can do this process, the more you're going to save on time and money from having to have that labor for the manual process. So once we've done that, we're going to convert our point cloud and recap to AutoCAD if we're doing the scanning, so that we can kind of trace over that in AutoCAD to create the drawing. We've got to go in and make sure that's to scale and do some, orientation in AutoCAD. We're going to do all that work for you as well. And then we're going to go and actually create the drawings by tracing that, or converting my hand annotations if I manually measured to create that drawing in CAD. Then I've got to review, make sure everything's correct, and then, I'm done. So we're trying to really simplify, speed up this process, and get your teams working faster on their projects to get those drawings, so they can hit the ground running. Really went through it pretty quick. I don't know if we want to open questions, or Amir, if you had anything else to add.
We can totally open it up for questions. I see some questions already coming in. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. All right, let's pull in the questions. And by the way, if you do have questions, please go ahead and use the Q&A panel to throw them at us. That would be super helpful. And this is, this is basically all for you. We've got a good amount of time here. So by all means, this is your chance to ask the experts your questions about CAD files. It's super exciting. This, I think, is going to be huge. I did see a question that came in. I don't remember where I saw that, if it was in chat or in questions, but it was regarding furniture being in the way. For example, we're talking about the electrical.
Yep.
And scanning with Matterport. Yes, clearly, it's no different than having a drop ceiling and expecting to get plumbing and MEP out of your BIM assets. If the camera can't see it, then it's not going to, no one, whoever's working on this is not going to know to add that in there. So
yeah,
you definitely want to make sure that everything is visible, to the system, to the camera, that it gets picked up, so that it can be interpreted and put into the CAD files.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, we haven't figured out X-ray technology in our scanners yet, so we're limited to what we can see. So yeah, saw another question just in the general chat about electrical annotations. Yeah, if it's cluttered, I would recommend doing, if that's important to you, do your best to clean up that clutter. Make sure those important items are visible when you're scanning the space. As long as they're visible, we'll include those. But yeah, if an outlet's behind a dresser or a table, something like that, and we can't see it, then it would not be added. Great thing with AutoCAD, right? We're giving you, again, that schematic level drawing, that rough draft. So you can always go add those things later, right? And we can get you 90% of the way there. And then instead of starting from scratch, I can just go add the outlets that were covered that I know are there, right? So you can easily and quickly do that versus, starting from nothing. So absolutely, we can still help speed up your workflows, even in cluttered spaces. We'll just get you, as much as possible based on what we see.
Right. It's another way to look at this, like the BIM assets, where we say, look, we're here, we're going to get you 90% of the way there very quickly. But then if you need to make any kind of tweaks and adjustments, then the file is there to do that. You can certainly add to it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. So we've got a question here from Daniel. Is this an automated process, or is there a person translating the scans into CAD files manually? If there's a person and it may be a different person each time, how can we expect consistency? Good question.
Yeah, great question. It is a person, right? We have a team that processes these scans and goes in, and really that whole process you saw on the right, we're just taking that off your plate and speeding that up. One, because we do this every day and we can scale it and have processes to make that faster. And then it also asks, like, expecting consistency. That's part of our job, we have standard templates that they follow. So we train our teams to follow specific guidelines, use the same annotations. And that's also where we have that scope of work document in our support that's going to give you the layers and elements included. So again, I recommend reviewing that because that's what our team is working off, right? That's that kind of source of truth so that you know what's going to be included, what's not going to be included. And all of our teams work off of that same elements list so that we can get consistency across the board on what we're delivering.
I thought I heard something about like just the work being double checked, right? It's not just somebody on a computer doing this and then sends
Absolutely.
it off. It does go through like a process of
Yeah,
being.
there's a QA process that, somebody else, right, that didn't originally do it goes to make sure those standards are being followed. Nothing was missed, right? We have a QA process, and we always have our support team, right? If you feel that something was missed or not done correctly, our support team can always help and assist and make sure that we deliver what you're expecting based off of that the scope of work that we've outlined.
Yeah. 100%. I know I have a customer who before this was using just floor plans basically to get this type of information so that he can kind of get going from there. And there is certainly a bit of inconsistency there. And just wanted to point out these are not far from being floor plans. They're a completely different service, and they are just meant to be very fast. I mean, you can get floor plans within 6 hours.
Yeah.
That's not this. So there is a level of Q&A that this has to go through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. If you're doing internal scans, how are you able to determine exterior wall thickness?
Another great question. Yeah. So with that, if you scanned with, say, our Pro 3 and you did an external scan, right, then we have that data. We can, actually see the thickness of the wall based on, the exterior and interior scans. And we will, accurately draw those. We don't include exteriors as part of the CAD scope. It's only going to be the internal, but we will give you the accurate wall thickness based on that point cloud data if you scan internal, external. If you only did an internal scan, then we just use standard wall thickness for the external walls, right? The internal wall thickness, we will use the data from the scan. External walls will all be modeled to just a standard wall thickness. And that will just be the base wall thickness. It won't include and again, we don't have X-ray vision, so it won't have any layers. We won't have differences between stud thickness and drywall thickness, for example, right? It'll just be the generic wall thickness that will be modeled based off of scan data.
Yep. Can't sketch out what isn't captured. So, okay. For the interior furniture feature, how does that work with manufacturing facility equipment? For example, if there's a CNC machine, what kind of furniture does get sketched out as part of the CAD files? Anything and everything, or is it just some things?
Yeah, and Irene may be able to answer that a little more in the chat too. I know with Revit, we generally have offered those. We have our complex mechanical in the BIM offering. Unique equipment, I know with BIM, we generally just give a generic placeholder that's roughly the same size and shape. We'll try to get it as close as we can to match that for specialty equipment. I have to follow up on that. I haven't seen how we handle that in CAD and what's included. Again, that elements document will kind of give you some insight into that. But I think Irene will add an answer here in chat. She's a little more knowledgeable on that, of how we handle specialty stuff. And again, this is our initial launch. I know with BIM, initially we didn't have that complex mechanical, but we saw a lot of customers ordering stuff for industrial type spaces, so we added that. So, definitely something we can look at in the future. But yeah, your Matterport rep or support team can help track that down. If you're curious, you have a specific space that's like, hey, what's going to be included in this, right? Definitely work with our teams to make sure that we're going to be able to include what's important to you, and we can get you an answer up front before you process that, to make sure that we're going to have that or let you know what won't be included.
Sounds good. Okay, so we've got through that. This is a good question. I saw this actually come in twice. Stan asks, will elevations eventually be available? I know from a customer of mine, external elevations, things like that, is definitely highly requested, or at least somewhat requested for sure.
Yep.
Is that in the scope? What do you think?
At this point, we don't have any plans to offer elevations in CAD. We recommend getting the BIM file for that because that will have full elevations, right? We're just modeling, again, that overhead floor plan view and then reflected ceiling if you get the electrical option, but we don't add any information as far as the walls go, right? That's be a lot more processing, and that's essentially what we're doing in BIM is modeling the entire 3D floors, ceilings, walls, all of that, right? So you can get the BIM file, and then elevations can be cut from that BIM file and provided to customers. But yeah, as of now, we don't have any plans to add that to the CAD offering. That would be graduated to BIM if you need the elevation information.
Yeah, my prediction is that especially with the Pro 3 becoming, the camera that everybody is going with, and they are including those external scans, especially when this is the use case when they do need those elevation files. I would say that we're headed in that direction, right? Same reason why CAD is a thing now. After BIM became a thing, CAD, that's like the next phase. I don't know. I haven't heard anything, but I just got to imagine that eventually we will get there too. All right. What else we got here? Are the AutoCAD files aligned a known grid? That's way over my head. OSGB 36, for example, or would we need to take GPS location markers and align afterwards?
Yeah, I think what we're asking here is like, are we using like GIS data, like GPS or GIS data to align this to the real world grid of where it's at, essentially like aligning this with Google Maps or other, known information. We are not, it's just going to be a standard file. If you wanted to, align that to like GPS coordinates, that would have to be done after. That would not be part of our offering.
Got it. And how do we download the point cloud for recap processing?
Yeah, so as we said, the converted recap file, RCP file, will be included in that. If you want to do this yourself and you just want to get the point cloud from your Matterport space, we do have additional add-ons in the way of our Matter Pack, which has the XYZ point cloud file, as well as an OBJ mesh file, and those can be imported through recap into Autodesk or Revit. And we also have an E57 offering if you want the higher density point cloud file, right? So those can be ordered as add-ons. For Revit, we do have a plugin. I think Irene can keep me honest in the chat. I think we're working on something similar for AutoCAD. Don't have it ready now, but that Revit plugin allows you to actually take those add-on files, the Matter Packer E57, will convert them for you and put it directly into Revit, so you can skip that recap step. We do that conversion for you, so you have some options there.
Yeah, and if you're getting like an E57, it sounded like that's what they were interested in, just the point cloud. The Revit plugins for you, plug in that just zips it right into Revit. Okay, Revit family types. Is this okay? What categories are represented as generic objects, and what is better defined as ductwork, pipes, conduits, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so if we're getting into Revit, again, for both, we have our documentation. It's actually at the bottom of the order page as well as on our support page. It gives you the elements and layers. So on CAD, right, we break things down into layers. We don't get quite as specific in CAD. Again, in electrical, we get some of those annotations, and you can see all those different, different ideas or elements that we will identify. But they are generic placeholders, right? We're not going to get into any specifics as far as, models or makes or anything like that. It will just be, this is canned lighting, this is soffit light, this is, an outlet, right? So it will be generic placeholders that are roughly the same size and shape, of what we see in the point cloud. In Revit, we get a little more specific with, pipes and conduits, HVAC. We will label all of those elements individually. But again, it's just generic, like LOD 200 placeholders that are, roughly same size and shape as what we model there. And yeah, all our documentation outlines what you can expect in CAD and BIM as far as layers and elements and all of that go.
Sounds good. Okay. Oh man, we got a lot of questions, so we're going to try and get through as many as possible. I don't know if we can make it. How are revisions from the end client work? Basically, is this process streamlined enough where I won't need to use AutoCAD?
Um, it really depends on your use case, right? We're only as accurate as the point cloud that's being generated, right? So with the Pro 3, we're accurate, 20 millimeters at a 10-meter scan distance, right? So we get highly accurate, in 20 millimeter quarter-inch range, right? There can be some variance there based off of how it was scanned, how many scan points, position of those scan points, right? Amir has tons of great videos in our Matterport Academy to give you best practices on scanning. So I definitely recommend watching some of those if you've never scanned with the goal of ordering CAD or BIM, right? And we can get some points on getting a good scan, right? That'll help increase that accuracy. So if your use case, if those variances are good enough, if you have some wiggle room on the tolerance of, the accuracy of those measurements and what you need, yeah, a lot of customers can take these drawings and just start working with them, right? If you need like fabrication level design, like I need to be able to go and know this is within higher tolerance than 20 millimeters, then you may need to go kind of true that up based off of some additional ground truth measurements, some verification measurements, and that's the beauty is like we can get you that schematic level drawing, and then you can go in and touch it up and add any additional insights or details you need. So that's really just based on your use case. If your customer can work off of that level that schematic level drawing that we're providing, yeah, a lot of people can just take that and go and run with it. But you always have the option of adding your own details and information.
But I don't know if this just popped in my head. I don't know if we covered this. 360 cameras are not supported
Correct.
for this. So this is
Yeah.
it's got to be active depth sensing cameras, right? Pro 2, Pro 3, Pro, BLK, like a BLK, any of those.
Any Matterport camera will work, or the BLK 360. But yeah, no smartphone capture. Even the LiDAR iPhone smartphone capture is just not enough data for us to work with that we can are comfortable providing the drawings off of that, and then 360s obviously would be excluded.
Right. Okay. What is the process time frame if after we review the drawing we find errors? Do we just fix it ourselves, or is that efforts included in the fee for the drawings?
Yeah, so if you find an error and yeah, it was something that we did wrong, we model based off of the point cloud, right? So again, if it's omission because we just didn't have that information in the point cloud, then we won't model that. If we missed something or something was not modeled correctly, we'll absolutely fix that at no additional cost to you, right? Contact our support team if you receive a drawing and you feel there's an error, and they will get on that right away so that we can get that fixed to you in a timely manner. Obviously, depending on what changes need to be made or corrections need to be made, that can impact the time. But our support team will get that over, and it will be prioritized to get that back to you quickly and get any errors fixed quickly. And again, you have that RCP, that point cloud file that you can use to verification to say, is this something that we missed in the scanning process? Is it something Matterport missed when they were creating those drawings? So you'll be able to see and compare. Also, our team, before they even start, will review that point cloud, right, and look for alignment errors, anything that maybe you didn't see in the Matterport tour, but we see in the point cloud that maybe this doesn't look like it aligned right. Right, we're going to work with either our support team to get that corrected first, or work with you to say maybe we need to get a rescan of this space before we process that.
Yeah. Good, great questions. We just had just disappeared on me. But we had a question regarding pricing. I guess I'll go with this one. What will the service be priced at? Oh, and then the other question was, well, let's talk about the pricing. Oh, is there like a free trial version? Basically, I know you can download CAD. If you go to our support pages, support.matterport.com, there's a sample that you can download. But I don't think you can order like let me try this on mine for free.
Yeah, no free trial as far as processing your spaces on a free trial basis. But as Amir said, our support page, even at the bottom of the order page, there's links to an example file and the corresponding Matterport space, so you can see the space we scanned versus what's delivered, to give you some insight into what that looks like and what to expect there. For pricing, we do have. If you go to Matterport's support page and just search for Matterport price list, we do have up to 10,000 square feet, just the basic price ranges there, right? It is a range because depending on if you order architecture and then add furniture and or electrical, right, that'll impact the price. You can also go to your spaces once it's live in your account. You should get an estimate. I saw somebody posted that they weren't seeing that. I think when we did the early release, some customers that were on professional plans were seeing the tab to order, but they actually weren't able to order yet. It wasn't enabled on their account or available on their account, and they weren't seeing estimates because of that. So you should see estimates if once it's live for your account. Then if you're not seeing estimates, contact our support team and they can make sure that that's fixed in your account. Also, can get estimates for any of those, right? If it's over 10,000 square feet, again, you'll get the estimate on the order page. You can also contact your Matterport rep and they can get you full pricing on any of those spaces.
All right. Is your conversion done in the US, or are you individuals in foreign countries to create the CAD files? So I guess that's important for, I'm guessing, like government agencies. We do have Matterport for government.
Yeah. So the companies we work with, and Irene can correct me on this, I believe they're based in the US, but not all of their employees are guaranteed to be based in the US. So yeah, Matterport for government, we do not have our add-ons for that reason, because we can't guarantee that all the employees working on this stuff are based in the US. So yeah, the companies that we work with this and our teams based in the US, but not all the employees maybe. So if you're on Matterport for government, you will not see that option. But Matterport for government, you do still have the option to download the point cloud files and use that workflow. So you do still have some options there as far as generating that data.
This is an interesting question. Can you deliver in AutoCAD 2013 version?
We don't go any lower than 2020 to my knowledge, right? Our support, you can request our support. Normally we can go forward, like you can convert forward, you can't convert back, right? I believe, I know that's true with Revit. I'm assuming that's true with AutoCAD as well. But you will have like those DXF files and the PDF. So you will have, those that have a little different compatibility. But yeah, our support team for specific versions, you can request those. They'll let you know what we can offer there.
Yeah.
And
right.
Angels in the chat I saw says you can convert backwards in CAD, which is good to know. That is one that I had. I know in Revit it's not possible. Sounds like in CAD, in AutoCAD it is. So that 2020 file version should be backwards compatible based on that information.
All right. That's great. That's what I love about the chat, it's community helping us out. Okay. What about scanning existing mechanical rooms? Would this new feature be able to capture all the piping in the ceiling and transfer it not to exactly identify each system, but to capture piping as a specific elevation and dimensions from walls? So, I mean, we kind of touched on this, right? It depends on the piping. A lot of times piping, mechanical stuff like that, it runs vertically, right, in walls. So
yeah,
that's why a file like this may not be best suited for that.
Correct. Yeah, we would recommend the BIM offering for or for mechanical and plumbing, right? HVAC plumbing, because yeah, they tend to twist and turn and do a lot of things that are hard to represent in strictly that 2D drawing. For those rooms, the ceiling heights, again, we'll give the base ceiling height for that area, but we won't show minor deviations, say due to pipes or anything like that. That's just going to be the standard ceiling height. So yeah, if you need that level of detail, we would recommend the BIM offering.
Yeah, I think even in ceilings, I've seen piping, between drop ceilings, do weird things where it just seems like a 2D representation isn't the best route, because they can just move across, down just a little bit and then over for whatever reason, as they were putting it in there. That's what they decided to do. It's just not going to translate well in a 2D drawing.
Yeah, I did see one question here from Ryan. Do we model in anything besides Revit? So for CAD and BIM, we model in AutoCAD, we model in Revit, but again, we deliver multiple file types. So on the CAD side, we're delivering the DXF and the PDF that can be opened in other software programs outside of AutoCAD. On the Revit side, we give an IFC file, which is, a industry standard file that can be opened in a number of programs outside of Revit, but still has a lot of the same information as far as the elements and everything goes in there. So yeah, we model in those programs. It's designed for those programs where we're absolutely giving you a few different options so that you can use these outputs in other programs.
Okay. Can you provide an example of how creating may be useful during the construction process, like before drywall, et cetera?
Yeah. So again, generally during the construction process, um, if you're getting to that build stage and you're starting to, build walls, things, you probably already have drawings. So they're depending on, your use case. We don't find a lot of customers, creating drawings after construction has started. There may be a use where, I just need some quick schematic level drawings, as I'm going through that process to indicate some of that stuff or just have documentation. We absolutely can do that, right? Again, we're going to take that point cloud and model out what we have. So we don't have like a specific scope for, different stages of that. So you're not going to, again, get like specific things like the layers and different pieces of that wall being built, like just studs, those types of things. It'll just be a wall, right? But, depending on what you're doing, there might be some value there for you to get an updated drawing during that progress. But generally we see these kind of before and after construction, right? Before construction, because we don't have drawings, we need to get started, we need to do our design so that we can start construction, or after for documentation, facilities management. Maybe we just want a scale accurate drawing for seeing where all these desks are. Again, we can model furniture. We see customers, they want a CAD drawing because maybe a program they use for their facilities management systems, they can import those drawings and use those to overlay information from their day-to-day facilities management stuff.
Yeah, during the construction process, I don't know that any of these assets hold value. Like you said, you kind of want them before, as you're doing like the redesign work before you start construction. But milestone scanning is definitely a thing. I would just say that you just want a Matterport model. You don't need any additional add-on assets. You just want that Matterport model of the walls before they get, insulated in sheetrock. So you have that, 3D asset basically of where stuff is inside your walls.
Yeah.
All right. Could you go a little into the workflow process of someone ordering just the CAD files and exporting to Revit? Or would you recommend ordering BIM outright to save on time?
Yeah, that's good question. Actually, I was talking to a customer this morning before we got on here for Shop Talk, and they said, they were talking about our CAD file, and they said they create their Revit drawings from CAD files. So you could absolutely, if you just want to get that base to then start building Revit stuff, especially if you just kind of want the outline of the building, and then I want to start building my own walls and things because I'm going to maybe just knock everything down and start over. So I don't need that as-built information for the walls. I just want to know where they are and, kind of the basis architecture. You could absolutely take that CAD file, put it into Revit, and then start, building your 3D drawings in Revit on top of that CAD file.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, we also heard from Stephanie how a lot of people go the other way, right? From 3D to 2D.
Yeah.
Do you have a recommended workflow for minimizing file size of point clouds? I know those E57s can get huge. How are customers managing that?
Yeah. So we talked about those add-ons. We have our Matter pack, and that has the XYZ point cloud file. So that's substantially smaller, probably, the E57, I'd say, is 5 to 10 times bigger generally than the XYZ. So the XYZ is a scaled down point cloud that's much more manageable. And we actually find most of our customers that, want to do this themselves or get the point cloud, go with the Matter pack, strictly because those files are smaller and easier to work with, not going to bog your computer down as much, because anybody here that's done design knows, Revit or AutoCAD could slow even a fast computer down pretty quickly. So yeah, the Matter pack would be the scaled down point clouds that you could use.
Sounds good. So there's no trick. It's decimating the data, basically. That's the trick.
But what we find, right, is the E57 is millions of points of data, right? And yeah. I don't really need millions. I'm really, if I'm tracing over this for CAD or Revit, I still have enough points even with the depreciated point cloud that's scaled down, doesn't have all those millions of points. I still have enough data there to get an um, accurate information to base
Yeah,
those.
it just depends on what you're doing, right? And
Yeah.
the level of detail that you need. Like you said, if it's, like fine detail, I don't know, windowsill, stuff like that, yeah, there's
Yeah.
no way of getting around it. But if you're just looking at, flat surfaces, walls, things like that, yeah, you probably don't need all that, all those
Yeah.
points.
And Don has a question here that's kind of right in line with this. If the high density scan is being used, will that improve the accuracy of my CAD or BIM output? So for those who aren't familiar, we recently released an option with our Pro 3 that you can do HD scanning. So what this will do is slow down the camera rotation and collect a lot more LiDAR data, right? So again, we're increasing that by millions of points per scan so that you get a much higher density E57 point cloud from that. It will not change the accuracy because more information isn't necessarily more accurate information. It is going to have a more dense output. Where we see benefits from that HD scanning is smaller items, right? So if I am scanning for creating, especially BIM, and I have, fine electrical wires that are kind of small, or smaller piping, or maybe the piping's way up in the ceiling and it's kind of farther away, right? Using that HD scanning, there's even a medium setting on that. Using either of those will increase the data we have so that our point cloud is more robust, which does help with the modeling, right? Which in turn can give you overall a better results. So it's the scan data, the points we're getting back are just as accurate whether you're using standard or HD, but it will be a more robust point cloud, and that will help our teams or your teams if you're using that point cloud for modeling again for smaller data. So yeah, and the nice thing is you can turn that off and on within the same scan. So I don't have to HD scan the entire space. Let's say I'm scanning my building and the mechanical room has a lot of, intricacies and, a lot of stuff going on. I could turn on HD scanning for just the mechanical room and then scan the rest using the standard scans.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's definitely worth noting with that high density scanning. I think some users will see that and say, oh, of course I want that. Why wouldn't I want higher density? Higher density has got
Yeah.
to be better. Not realizing that you're going to get an insane E57 if that's what your goal is. And if it's not, if you're just scanning for the sake of scanning, the CADs and BIMs are not your thing, then you're probably never going to see it. That's you're just going to get a slower scan, and it's not necessarily better. So just think about what your end use case is before going with that.
Yeah.
Are you drawing at? Well, sorry, I just skipped on me. Are you drawing as 2D? Oh, sorry. My questions keep disappearing.
Sorry, I answered that one.
All
So
right.
select elements most elements will be drawn as lines. Select elements like doors and windows will be drawn as blocks.
Okay. Sorry, Irene, can you just go over the question real quick?
Oh, yes. The question was, are you drawing as 2D lines? Example, a door might be a line and a curve, or do you use architectural CAD where a door is an element? So most elements like walls will be drawn as lines, but when you have elements like windows and doors, we'll represent those as CAD blocks.
All right. Fantastic. Do you recommend using this feature for a boiler with over 800 scans in the original model? And what is the easiest way to convert only a part of a large model for CAD? That is a great question. What do you recommend for that?
Yeah. So we could absolutely convert that for an existing drawing with 800 scans, depending on the square footage, right? So currently we are limited to 125,000 square foot per model. So if it falls within that, right, more scans. I saw somebody else asking, like, do we need to scan more to create these as well, right? It's not required, but more like you're going to have, again, a more robust point cloud the more scans you do. So I do recommend, I generally add a few extra scans per room if I know I'm going to be creating drawings from these, right? So we don't have a limit on scan points. It is limited to 125,000 square foot currently. We do have plans in the future to offer larger. And, to your second question, if we want to convert only part of a larger model, so maybe my model is over 125,000 square feet, or I just don't need all this other information. You can do that by reprocessing just the space that you want converted, right? So we do have our cloud restore feature we released probably over a year now that allows you to go into the Capture app and find that existing model. So even if you're not the one who captured it, if you have collaborator access to that model in your account, you can go and say restore job data in the Capture app. That will download all that capture data to your mobile device. And then from there, you can go and delete out the scan points from the areas you don't want. Nice thing is you can hold your finger on that and then select multiples, delete those out, trim down the model using the trim tool to just the area that you want, and then upload and reprocess that model and then order the CAD for that. So that's how you would do, a specific section of an existing model or, trim down a model for getting under that 125,000 square foot limit.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And just wanted to kind of expand on that. The reason why you don't want to use the trim tool in Workshop to just kind of hide the information, right? The dollhouse and the mesh and whatnot, is because when pricing, we're looking at the data, and that trim tool is just hiding. It's not deleting or eliminating anything. So that's why what Steve is suggesting is actually the best way to go about it. Bring that model data back into your phone, iPad, whatever, tablet, and kind of just delete the information that you don't want. You can use the trim markings there to actually eliminate that data from getting processed, but you do have to delete the scan positions. You can't just draw trim lines and re-upload. That's not gonna cut it. You got to delete the scan positions, draw the trim lines, reprocess, and then you've got a model that is actually smaller to what you want. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, I guess that's it. Did we have anything in the chat that I missed? Because it looks like with the help of Charmaine and Irene, we got through all the questions. That's amazing. I'm shocked. We still got a couple minutes, so just definitely want to make sure that we address everything.
Yeah, I think Mark popped up another question. Does the quote use the entire model exterior too, or does it see only inside? Great question. And I'm going to kind of fuzz this answer a little bit I know previously with BIM, we've based the estimate off of the entire scan area. We have been working hard. Irene may know if we have that out yet, but we are working to get it to where the estimate will be based off of just interior. I'm not quite sure if that's live. Irene, I think, is popping in to keep me honest.
Yeah, great question. So it will be live soon as part of the Pi release. So it'll only be for newer spaces. I don't believe it's fully live yet for everyone. So it is definitely coming soon. And again, just like BIM, it will be an estimate. So whatever the interior actually comes at, that's what you'll get billed for.
Yeah. So the estimate may be off if you scanned exterior for those existing spaces. But you will not be charged for that. If you're ever questioning it too, like you have an interior exterior and you feel like, this seems like it's basing off the whole thing, you can submit that order and contact our support team, and they can get you the exact price of what that will be before we continue processing. And, if that's outside of what you're expecting in your budget, we can cancel that order so you don't get billed for it, or, process and proceed once you have that exact pricing. But yeah, as Irene said, we're doing a big release on February 15th with a number of other features, one of those being our property intelligence, and that's giving us the insights of what's internal and what's external, and we'll leverage that data to give more accurate estimates in the future.
James asked a great question. Is this available on the professional plan, or is a business plan required?
Professional plan on February 15th. It is available for business and enterprise right now. Again, if you're not seeing that option, have your admin turn that on for your account, but professional accounts will all see that next week.
Sounds good. Anonymous asked, where can I ask questions about the schematic floor plan add-on? I would just write support@matterport.com, I guess.
Yep.
Ask them anything you want. Well, maybe last question, we'll see. Sorry, I'm late to join. If a building is scanned internally and externally using the Pro 3, would you produce actual wall thickness and external wall details as part of the model? We didn't talk about external wall details, but we did mention the wall thickness would be, accurate. Basically, they would use that external data.
Correct. Yeah. If we have external, internal, we'll give accurate wall thickness. If not, we use just a standard generic wall thickness for the external walls. And yeah, no internal and external, no wall details as far as like construction layers or anything like that would be included.
Martin asked, my account shows CAD files, but as beta. Is that how it should be?
Yeah, because again, February 15th is our official release date. We've tagged everything as beta. We had some early beta customers that we worked directly with to, kind of make sure everything was working as we expected and properly, right? We always beta test our software before we push it out to everyone. We kind of did an early release. We don't really feel like it's necessarily a beta product. So at this point, we've vetted out the workflows and everything's working great. So we went ahead and early release for business and enterprise. But the beta tag's still there until February 15th when we officially GA.
Sounds good. Any way to scan exterior facades using Matterport into Matterport using drones? Third-party platform partners, basically. We have platform partners that can take drone exterior captures, like using photogrammetry, things like that. Those 3D models, even without drone, just using Google Earth, right? You can download those 3D assets now, I believe. And so a third-party platform partners like Captured, Treatise, these companies can marry those two models together.
Yeah, we've also released, it was previously in beta, now it's full GA for iPhone and Android, the ability to import 360 panoramas. So we've seen customers, do their standard Matterport scan and then maybe do some drone photography. As long as our software can align those drone 360 pano images to the captures from the Matterport camera, then we've seen customers also upload those. In the context of CAD and BIM, again, we don't do any exterior details. So, if you added those to a Matterport scan and process them for CAD or BIM, you would not get any of those exterior elements. But we have seen customers take 360 panorama images from a drone and import those into the Capture app.
Yeah, in just 360, good point. But as you said, it does have to align. The Matterport processing engine needs to be able to, Cortex needs to be able to understand where that belongs and register it. And with that, looks like we made it. We did it. All the questions have been answered. So thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Great questions. Awesome session. Thank you so much, Stephen, for joining us, helping us with all these questions. Irene, thank you so much for answering so many questions in the background there, and Charmaine as well. Hope this was informative and that you got a lot out of it. I'm sure I did. And we'll see you in the next Shop Doc. Thanks again. Take care and have a great rest of the day.